hold on a second, what? I can get tokens just by giving my guesses on the match? Don't they try to sell these things? Yep, definitely still selling them. But wait, how do they make money then? That is the question that I sought out to answer today. And no, this is not a random skit I came up with for the sake of adding backstory to an otherwise one-dimensional video. I genuinely didn't know how Overwatch is still making money prior to researching for today's topic. I mean, okay, I think we all know about all the different things they are trying to sell us, but most of us probably never sat down to try and quantify any of them. And that's what I want to do today. I went out and tried to find every single revenue stream that can be associated with Overwatch. Everything from in-game purchases to merchandise and franchising. I think I managed to find most of them, and if I did happen to overlook something, as always my friends, feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. But until then, let's begin. Before we can find out how much money Overwatch is generating, we need to find out how much Blizzard has spent making it. While finding definitive figures for most of the things we're covering today is rather difficult, estimating the overall development cost of the game is actually on the easier side of things. Even if Activision Blizzard does not publicly announce the exact sum of money they spent on the creation of Overwatch, we know how expensive it is to make video games on average anyway. But before Overwatch was even on the table, we have to talk about Titan. Overwatch became what was originally supposed to be an MMORPG, and internally they referred to it as Project Titan. Development costs for Titan may have amounted to tens of millions, perhaps $50 million or more. This is not an unusual event, however. Blizzard has cancelled several games in various stages of development in the past, explained independent analyst Billy Pigeon. What remained of Project Titan was eventually turned into Overwatch, and as we all know, it became a smash hit at launch. The article quotes another even higher estimate of $70 to $140 million, which, for the sake of argument, in a worst case scenario, is the figure we're going to be using for today. But that only covers the expenses of the 7-year project that is Titan itself. 2 years of development followed the cancellation of the first game until Overwatch eventually emerged, which is estimated to have cost another $15 to $25 million. So if we assume that Blizzard has spent up to $165 million until Overwatch finally released, did they make that money back? Well, I think it's no secret to any of us that they did. In the first year of the game launching, they have sold over 25 million copies and reportedly made over $1 billion in revenue. Including us buying alt accounts over and over again, the game has sold over 40 million copies by 2019. If we all paid $40 per copy, that will make for up to $1.6 billion in revenue off of game sales alone, which I don't exactly believe to be accurate, simply because the game went on sale like 100 times, but then again, it cost $60 on console for a very long time, so I do however believe that it is reasonable to assume that most of the sales have taken place before they reduced the price permanently to $20 on PC. Anyway, 1.6 billion is going to be our estimate for now, but take it with a grain of salt. At the end of the day, all of us assume that the big money is not to be had with game sales, but with microtransactions, right? And a lot of players believe Overwatch to have popularized the modern day loot box, so they should be swimming in money. Well, funny that you say that, because just a couple days prior to me starting the research for this video, SuperData published a report that attributed $1 billion in microtransaction revenue to Overwatch. Which, you know, sounds like a lot, but let me put that into perspective for you. That is not the money they made this year, or even in the entirety of last year. This is the entire microtransaction revenue they made since launch. It took them 3 years to make $1 billion through in-game purchases when the launch year of Overwatch already boasted $1 billion in revenue. Meanwhile, FIFA's Ultimate Team microtransaction system is making $900 million a year, just off of in-game purchases, without even considering game sales. Well, perhaps not for long considering all the legislations that are currently being discussed. And need I remind you that Blizzard has added League tokens to the game, so the $1 billion they made through in-game purchases is not even limited to just loot boxes. It also includes all the League skins that have been paid for. The fact that they have expanded their offering of in-game transactions itself should show us that the loot boxes were not making them as much money as they would have liked. But now, next to giving out League tokens for watching the League itself since launch, but also giving us a chance to earn tokens by voting on different outcomes of matches, I think it is safe to assume that they're not banking on microtransactions to be their big money makers. And this is where diversification comes into play. Diversifying revenue streams simply means that you don't want to rely on one single source of income in the event that this bridge collapses. To give you you a very real-world example, as a content creator, I primarily make my money via the ad business on YouTube. I make videos, YouTube puts ads on those videos, and I get a cut of the revenue they made by serving these ads. Now, if you were to pay for a membership on my channel, then I would no longer be reliant on ads alone, right? At this point, I've diversified my income away from the ad business. However, that is not quite how that works. And that's also why League tokens are not a step of diversification away from loot boxes either, because all of my revenue is still coming from YouTube. And while I appreciate everyone who has signed up for a channel membership and now gets to enjoy early previews and sneak peeks of upcoming videos on my Discord and in the YouTube member exclusive community tab, a true diversification that you will often see comes in the form of Patreon, creating a completely separate stream of income that would still function should something go wrong with YouTube. Besides that, you will also see a lot of YouTubers live streaming on Twitch and selling merchandise over third-party platforms. In that same vein, Blizzard does not want to be relying on us buying loot boxes alone. They want us to get attached to the IP, and this is where the really interesting part of the video begins, because I'm quite impressed with the amount of revenue streams they have created. While merchandise would be an obvious one to start with, I want to talk about the Overwatch League first, because quite frankly, there are some really big numbers to cover. And if you saw what I saw, you'd already know why we want to start with the League. The League itself has a number of sponsors supporting the show, on top of being broadcast on ESPN and Disney XD. But of course, the partnerships don't end there. Twitch itself has joined forces with Blizzard to be the exclusive live streaming platform of choice for a number of Blizzard esports events. Not only are they running ad breaks on the platform itself, but they are also selling the exclusive Overwatch League All Access Pass, and its integration is only possible because of their partnership. Overwatch League is where we know big stacks of money are being put on the table. In its first season, acquiring an Overwatch League franchise cost the owners $20 million upfront each. VentureBeat.com is citing $30 to $60 million bids for becoming an Overwatch League franchise in the second season. And what do they get for that money? Well, as far as I remember, Blizzard is deeply involved in the creation of each and every OWL franchise. That's why the promotional material across the board looks very uniform. They were all made in-house. Also, remember the League tokens I talked about? Back when they were introduced, Blizzard said that they take 50% of the revenue generated by those sales, and the other 50% is distributed among the teams. While I don't think they ever commented on the specifics of that deal, a lot of people are suggesting that no matter which item you buy, you are ultimately supporting all of the teams equally. So even if, let's say, the LA Gladiators are selling the most in-game skins, every franchise in the league is still getting the same cut off of all the sales combined. At least that's what we're assuming. Every team itself obviously has the option to seek out individual sponsors, which you can see presented on their jerseys. And I would be hard-pressed to believe that they don't see any of the ad money that the league is generating via ad breaks on Twitch and integrated ads in the show itself. Oh, and ticket sales, of course. We are so used to the sale of digital goods and ads that sometimes we forget that people actually physically go to these events. No idea what that feels like. I sure as hell never leave my room. The verdict is estimating up to $800,000 of revenue for ticket sales this season, including the markup for special events like the playoffs. Does not seem like a lot for a company that made over $7 billion last year, but hey, it all adds up. And speaking of things that add up, merchandise. Obviously, you can buy Overwatch t-shirts and accessories over on their store, but that is kind of a given at this point. Let's take a look at all the third-party merchandise that you can buy outside of just the Blizzard store. You can get Razer peripherals in Overwatch design. You can get Overwatch Nerf guns. You can get Overwatch Lego. And hell, you can even eat Overwatch with a variety of Kellogg's products, including Pop-Tarts, Pringles, Cheez-Its, and of course, Lucios. Now, it isn't really all that easy to get exact figures or even any details on those types of deals, but the most reasonable assumption I can make is that they have a licensing agreement with a lot of these companies. In a typical licensing agreement, the licensor grants the licensee the right to produce and sell goods, apply a brand name or trademark, or use patented technology owned by the licensor. In exchange, the licensee usually submits to a series of conditions regarding the use of the licensor's property and agrees to make payments known as royalties, as explained by Inc.com. The long and short of it is that companies like Razer, Lego, and Kellogg's believe that they are going to be able to sell more products if they associate them with the Overwatch IP, or Activision Blizzard convinced them that this will be the case. They have to agree to a set of conditions on how that IP is going to be applied onto their product, and then they have to pay Blizzard for the rights of using it. Now, all of these things are obviously very cross-promotional. Every time a new deal like that is coming to light, Blizzard is advertising it through their own social media channels. It is a win-win kind of situation where a mainstream product finds its way into the minds of players who would usually not think twice about it, while getting the image of their IP into the minds of people who may have never never heard of the game. Or perhaps a brand wants to solidify their standing in the gaming community itself. While I could not find any reliable information on the exact value of these deals, I don't think you need me telling you that brands like Razer, Lego, and Kellogg's make a lot of money. But I also know that you are here to see some big numbers. So for context, according to CNBC, Razer has made $517.9 million in revenue last year, and the company is valued at $2.2 billion. Lego reported $5.4 billion in sales in 2018, and it gets even more ridiculous with Kellogg's, who reported $13.55 billion in revenue in the same year. So we're talking massive cross-promotional deals here. Now, truthfully, I don't believe that these individual brand deals are more profitable than the league itself. There is a lot of money flowing through the ad business itself, and even people who buy the All Access Pass to avoid the ads are going to be met with ad integrations during the show. And it's not like the companies paying for those ad placements are not huge either. I mean, Toyota, Coke, I'm sure you heard of those before. So all things told, I think the game sales and microtransactions are a thing of the past for Overwatch. And most of us can feel it. A lot of players have expressed that they don't see a reason to buy loot boxes anymore, considering that they only care about a couple skins per event and that they have enough in-game currency to get them for free. Players who are big fans of the league and watch it actively anyway can buy league skins for free as well, since there's more than one way of getting tokens now. And with the implementation of a 2-2-2 role queue system and the introduction of separate skill ratings per role, we are no longer going to have to buy a new account just for the sake of practicing new heroes without ruining our current MMR. Blizzard has successfully diversified their revenue and are able to make money thanks to a very strong IP. The reason that all these different Overwatch products exist is because there is a demand for them, and they are simply trying to meet it. So let's quickly summarize all the ways that Blizzard makes money with Overwatch in rapid-fire fashion. Game purchases, loot boxes, league tokens, official Overwatch merchandise, licensing agreements, mutually beneficial partnerships featuring exclusive digital goods, ad breaks, integrated ads and sponsorships, and of course Overwatch League ticket sales. An honorable mention goes out to Overwatch Contenders, though I'm hard-pressed to believe that they make a profit on that. Those are a lot of different ways to make money for sure, but don't forget that they are also paying for ongoing development of the game, they are hosting the league themselves, and they also have to pay support staff to be at the ready in case there are any problems with any of the products they offer. And if you want to support the work that I do here on YouTube, then I highly recommend you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to not miss out on any of my uploads. But for now, I want to thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, and naturally, feel free to leave all of your thoughts surrounding the subject in question down in the comment section below. I'm looking forward to hearing back from you guys, and I hope to see you all next time.